Fire, and today I thought we would talk about Book of Shadows and Grimoires and what is the difference. Um, so you'll hear these terms kind of interchangeably, and sometimes people will use them out of context. So I kind of wanted to just go over with you what the difference is and what they actually look like and all of that. So your Book of Shadows is your personal book of spells, or recording of your practice, however it is that you do things. If you record everything that you do, then that, and put it into a book or a binder or whatever it is that you use, it doesn't matter. It can look like anything. It can be anything from a notebook, a binder, a journal of some sort, a leather-bound book. It does not matter. It is your personal taste what your Book of Shadows looks like. Mine personally is a binder because I am a collector of knowledge. I like to collect everything, and I also do Books of Shadow pages for my Patreon every month, so I have lots of new spells that I'm creating and information that I'm, compiling that I keep in my Book of Shadows. So your Book of Shadows is just a recording of your personal practice. A grimoire is basically a published book of knowledge. So I'm going to show you some examples. These are grimoires. They're just published books that have witchcraft knowledge in them. So this one's spell book. This one is Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. So it has magical, these both have magical things in them, but they are not made by you. So that's the difference between a Book of Shadows and a grimoire. So a grimoire is made by somebody else. And they're just passing their knowledge on to you. So these, they're great references, but they're not the same as a Book of Shadows. A Book of Shadows is your own personal practice, how you do things, how the spell work that you're creating and trying to record. So those Book of Shadows can look like anything. You can make it out of whatever it is that you want. So this is my personal Book of Shadows. It is a huge 4-inch binder. And this is the best way for me. So my first Book of Shadows, this is my current one, my current Book of Shadows. So I'm going to kind of share with you a little bit, how my path started. When I first started, I was using this as my Book of Shadows. And basically, this is just where I was collecting all the information that I was acquiring. Because like I said, I'm a knowledge collector. I like to know all the things. So I needed a place to put those. So this is just a little journal. It's a brown paper journal that I found at Walmart. I wasn't in this one very long before I started moving on to my next Book of Shadows. But, it's a good place to start. It didn't cost me but a few bucks, and I was able to try and, kind of get the gist of what I'm wanting, and I realized that this wasn't gonna cut it. I was acquiring too much knowledge to fit in this tiny little book. So I moved on to this book, which was a gift from my husband, and then I painted it really nice. It's just an art book. It just has white paper on the inside, and I created little sections, and this is just where I would record my spell work that I was doing. And I was finding that I hated writing everything out. It drives me crazy because I don't have very good handwriting, and I just didn't have the patience to sit here and write everything by hand. I'm much more of a printer type person. I like to type it out and then print it. But this worked out really nice in the beginning because I I broke it up into sections of spell work, and then I had a journal section and a place to record my dreams. I quickly found in my practice that I really wasn't doing those things, and I needed to move on to other things. So I moved to my big binder. This is actually not the binder that I had, but it's expanded, so I had to buy a bigger binder. But I do want to mention one thing that I think that everyone should do, whether you're a witchcraft or not. I think you should have some sort of dumping journal. Especially when you're practicing, a lot of stuff is going to come up, especially if you're doing shadow work. So you need a place to put that. So this is just a journal, and I only use it to journal in, and it's mostly only when I have something really bothering me. So I suggest that everybody have some sort of journal that they can just have a place to dump their frustrations, their bad days, their, things just have gone to shit. So I highly recommend that. It's not really a Book of Shadows, but I do keep it with my Book of Shadows just simply because it is kind of along the lines of shadow work and all of that stuff. So my Book of Shadows, just like I said, it's a 4-inch binder. I'm probably going to have to wind up moving up. It's getting pretty full, but yours may not be like this. You may take years to get to this much stuff. But like I said, I produce Books of Shadow pages and spell work pages on Patreon every month, so I have at least 8 new spells and informational pages every month that I have to add to my Book of Shadows. And I keep them in here because they are my spell work. I am creating them and writing them for my Patreon, but I hope that I didn't go through this too fast, but, your Book of Shadows doesn't have to look like anything. It should appeal to you. If you're comfortable in a binder, if you're comfortable in a notebook, or a leather-bound book, it does not matter, as long as you're putting your practice into it. Recording what you're doing, recording what works, what doesn't work. Even if you're just recording, things that you're thinking about doing, future spell work, herbal references, all of that can go into your Book of Shadows. You don't have to buy every grimoire that's out there, because you can, create your own. And that's what a Book of Shadows is. It's just a place for you to put all of your magical practice in, no matter how that practice looks. If you don't do spell work every day and you would rather journal or do herbal references or anything like that, those can all go in your Book of Shadows because they are part of your personal practice. If you do divination, you can put your divination, record your divination outcomes in your Book of Shadows. It doesn't just have to be about spell work. It can be anything that's part of your practice, whether that's spell work itself, or just herbal references, crystal and stone references, like I said, your divination outcomes. All of that stuff can go into your Book of Shadows, and then you'll be able to look back and say, okay, during this chunk of time, I was doing a lot of this, and then I kind of switched into this, and you can see how your practice evolves. But like I said, I highly recommend that you keep a Book of Shadows no matter what it looks like. Don't worry about that it has to look like a certain way, because you'll find really quickly that that doesn't work. Because it's not what's, good for you. I found really quickly that writing in a journal type book didn't work for me, because I have too much stuff. So I just wanted to kind of do this beginner video and let you know what the difference is, because I know when I first started I was very confused. I thought they meant the same thing, and they don't. A grimoire is a pre-published book of spells or information about witchcraft. Your Book of Shadows is your personal information. So I will leave it there, and I hope everyone has a great day, and blessed be.